This movie tells a true story that makes you think about your own life. It's about Solomon Northup, a free African-American man living in 1841. Solomon had a happy life with his wife and 2 kids. He was a musician and respected in his community. One day, Solomon meets 2 white men, Brown and Hamilton, who offer him a job to play music in Washington, D.C. They promise good pay, and he agrees to go with them. After a night of drinking, Solomon wakes up in a dark cell, chained up and scared. The men tell him he is a runaway slave from Georgia, not a free man from New York. Despite his protests, Solomon is beaten and taken to a place with other enslaved people. He sees the terrible pain of a mother being separated from her children, showing how cruel slavery is. Later, they are taken to a slave market where they are sold like property. Solomon tries to tell everyone he is a free man, but nobody believes him. To survive, he pretends to be a slave and hides his education. Solomon is sold to a new owner who is a bit kinder. He tries to gain the owner's trust and even earns a violin as a gift. However, he faces jealousy and danger from a cruel supervisor. One day, after a fight with the supervisor, Solomon is left hanging from a tree with a noose around his neck. He manages to stand on his toes to avoid choking, but he is in pain for hours while people ignore him. Eventually, the owner arrives, cuts him down, and warns him that the supervisor will try to kill him. Solomon is moved to a stricter place, where everyone has to pick a certain amount of cotton each day. A girl named Patsey picks much more than anyone else, but she is treated badly by the owner. One night, the slaves are forced to dance at the owner's house, and Patsey is hurt by the owner's wife, who is jealous of her. The owner's wife asks Solomon if he can read and write, but he lies and says he cannot because being educated could put him in danger. At the market, he realizes how risky it is to be seen as a slave. As time goes on, Solomon becomes more desperate to escape and return to his family. He knows that if he tries to run away, he will be severely punished. Patsey, who is suffering greatly, begs Solomon to help her die because she can't take her life anymore, but he refuses to harm her. As the years go by, the cotton crops fail, and Solomon's owner decides to send all the enslaved people to work for someone else. Solomon finally gets a chance to play the violin at a wedding, which earns him a little money, but his life is still very hard. He goes back to his old owner and continues to pick cotton. Despite his efforts, Solomon struggles to meet the daily work quotas. If he doesn't pick enough, he faces punishment. A new white slave arrives who is also treated poorly. One day, Solomon suggests to a white slave that he could help him deliver a letter in exchange for money. Solomon earned this money by playing the violin. It's a risky plan because if their master finds out, they could both be killed. The white slave agrees, and Solomon hopes to send a letter to his family, which could help him get free. However, one night, Solomon's master confronts him, holding a knife and drunk. He accuses Solomon of being able to read and write and plotting against him. Solomon cleverly convinces his master that the white slave is lying and trying to trick him. After this close call, Solomon, feeling hopeless, burns the letter he had written, destroying his last chance for freedom. Time goes on, and Solomon continues to suffer, facing humiliation and beatings. Then a new worker named Bass, a white man, arrives. He starts to notice the unfair treatment of the enslaved people and feels sympathy for Solomon. They talk about how they could get a message to Solomon's family. Eventually, everything changes when a police officer comes to the plantation and recognizes Solomon as Solomon Northup, the man who was kidnapped and sold into slavery. The officer, with another man, makes sure Solomon is freed, despite his master trying to stop them. However, Solomon is heartbroken to leave behind his fellow slaves, especially Patsey, who continues to suffer. Once he is free, Solomon returns to his family, who have missed him and grown while he was away. He feels overwhelmed with emotion and apologizes for being gone so long, not knowing that they believed he had done nothing wrong. The story ends by highlighting the painful realities of slavery and the strength of those who endured it. Share your thoughts on today's video in the comments, and if you enjoyed it, like and share it with friends. For more exciting movie explanations, subscribe to our channel. See you next time with another great story. Until then, stay well and healthy.